Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's Bree and I'm here today to discuss the Real Housewives of Potomac season 8 episode 4 titled In a Pickle. All right, y'all, let's get into it. So we start this episode off with Nneka arriving at the airport to pick up her husband. And we learn that her husband travels for work as a doctor and he travels about twice a month. And then he comes home for a week and then he leaves for a week. I think that's what she was saying. So anyway, so she picks up her husband from the airport, and while they're driving home, Nneka receives a call from Karen, and Karen invites her to the whole pickleball event thing that her husband's having. So she invites her over the phone, her and her husband. So Nneka accepts her invitation, and then once she hangs up the phone with Karen, she says to her husband, you know how aggressive and upset Wendy was, her sister and her mother. I don't know how this is gonna go down, like once I see her. So basically I'm like kind of paraphrasing. So we learned that Nneka's cousin-in-law, I think it was a Levy or something like that. So basically y'all know that her cousin-in-law received a call from Wendy's older sister, Ivy. And Ivy let her know that there was an issue with Nneka because apparently Nneka was going around town using Wendy's name, I guess, to get on the show. I think that's the backstory. And see, this is what I want to know. I need to know the full, concise story of why this all even ensued, because I feel like Nneka is missing parts of the story, because to me, it kind of doesn't make sense. But anyway, so yeah, she's telling her husband, about what happened. So Wendy's sister, calls Nneka's cousin-in-law and basically saying like, why is Nneka going around town, using my sister's name? I don't know if she's trying to get on the show and, what's going on with that. And so also too, Nneka feels like Wendy's sister and mom are preventing her from interacting with the women in the group. So her husband, he replies saying that instead of them seeing you as a fellow Nigerian, they're seeing you as a Nigerian that's taking Wendy's spot. So I'm like, child, a mess. So Nneka says that if that's the case, then, that's really upsetting and it's very alarming. Then we learn that Nneka's husband, I believe his name is Ike. So we learned that her husband and Wendy's husband, Eddie, went to college together. I think the University of Maryland. And so Nneka says, right after Eddie's mother-in-law had called, that whole situation that Nneka talked about in the last episode, after she did that, all of a sudden, Eddie unfollowed her husband, Ike, on Facebook. And so she's thinking like, because of that whole thing, now all of a sudden he wants to unfollow you on Facebook, which is so ridiculous, because it's like, okay, how old are we? And who really still goes on Facebook like that? But I don't know, neither here nor there. Anyway, y'all. So in the next scene, we see Robin arrive at a restaurant to meet up with Giselle. So Giselle arrives and they start talking as they're, sitting down, waiting to like order their food and stuff. So Robin says that Karen apologized to her via text and invited her to Ray's pickleball event. So Giselle asks Robin, is Juan coming to the event? And Robin says, yeah, he's coming. Then Giselle says that, everybody, the girls, they all have their opinions about Juan. And then all of a sudden Robin says, well, we don't care about their opinions. You know how she is. Like every episode, it's a we don't care.
And this is how it felt.
Really?
She's explaining it to you.
Yeah, I'm just saying really.
Juan be talking about he don't care. So we all get it, Robin. Y'all don't care. You should care, but hey, that's you. So she says, if they want to keep talking about Juan, then, go for it. So then we learned that Giselle and Robin, they recently went to Atlanta to do a live podcast show because, you guys, they have a podcast. And Juan came with Robin. So Giselle says that she had a discussion with Juan, and I'm assuming this is off camera. And they were talking about the whole social media thing, about him being photographed with, I guess, his co-worker at the laundromat, and then also the whole Canada situation with that woman. So she was having a discussion with him about it. So then Giselle says that she doesn't want to ever be put in a situation where she and Juan have words because of what he did. So Giselle tells Robin that Juan came for her when they were talking. So I guess maybe they kind of got into a little argument, and maybe Juan was, upset with Giselle. So I'm assuming that's why she's saying that. And then also too, Juan told Giselle that Robin told him that Giselle doesn't believe anything that he says. So once she tells Robin this, Robin makes up some excuse talking about, oh, I didn't say that to Juan. He does have bad hearing from coaching. And I'm like, why do they think that people are dumb? I don't know. Now, you know darn well, Robin, that you probably did tell Juan, like, oh, well, Giselle doesn't believe you, because Giselle doesn't. I mean, let's keep it real. And you told him that, and then he got into Giselle's behind about it when he saw her in Atlanta. So don't sit here and try to use this excuse about, like, oh, he didn't really hear my words correctly. He heard exactly what you said correctly. And I just wish people would just own it. Like, just own it. Be like, oh, girl, yeah, I did say, because you didn't believe him. Anyway, that's my little rant. So anyway, after they talk about that, then Robin tells Giselle, what Nneka told her the other day about Wendy's mom calling her cousin-in-law, and then that whole shrine situation. And then she's going to say to Giselle, I'm not supposed to tell anyone, but, I'm going to tell you. So I'm just like, why are you telling her? Anyway, so they talk about that. And so afterwards, Giselle asks Robin, aren't Wendy and Nneka from the same tribe? So Robin says, yeah. And then Giselle says, well, does Wendy not want us, to know about Nneka? Like, does she want to be the only one that we know is from her tribe? And so I'm just like, anyway. So Giselle says, she hopes that whole situation is not true regarding Wendy's mom. So that was their, time together as they were talking about those two situations. So in a new scene, we see Candace is at home and her mother has come into town to visit. So they're at Candace's house and they're talking in the kitchen. So we learned in Candace's confessional, she says that her mom, seeing her as a music artist, has helped her gain respect for her now. So as they're talking, Candace's mom asks her, is she getting back into the swing of things? And Candace replies, I've spent so much money on the last tour that I was on, but, basically I did that to get exposure, to get my name out there. And this time around, as she just got back from one of her tours, she said, this time around, I'm getting into more in more cities, and I can't really spend that much money again. So Candace's mom asked, well, what is Chris doing right now? So Candace replies, and she says that he's still doing his virtual classes because, he's a chef. So he does his virtual cooking classes. Also, he does private chef events as well. So then her mom going to say, well, is he making money with that? And Candace got smart with her. She was like, no, he's not making money. And so her mom says, I wasn't trying to be rude or anything. And so Candace is like, yes, he is making money. So we do a flashback scene, and you guys remember last year, Chris had a crazy work schedule. He was working for a hotel, I believe, and as I guess they're top chef or event person there. And so he was working 12-hour days. Him and Candace weren't really connecting. They weren't even seeing each other really. And it was kind of taking a toll on their marriage. And so Candace informs Candace informs the audience, basically, Chris decided to quit his job, for the sake of their marriage. And that was nice because I think, when you get married, there are sacrifices that, at times one spouse has to make, and then the other times the other spouse has to make. So, and I'm pretty sure he was liking what he was doing, but also too, it's not worth it. Like, this is your lifetime commitment and it's a covenant. And so that's more important than a job that can be gone tomorrow. So you know what I'm saying? So I thought that was huge. Anyway, so back to the recap. So then Candace's mom asked her, how are she and Robin doing? And Candace says that, she doesn't know, and she doesn't know if she even wants to work things out with her anymore. So Candace explains to her mom that Robin sat there knowing her friend Giselle was making up all those lies about Chris last season and, on their marriage. And also how Robin was kind of just staying on the fence about it because basically she didn't want anybody to know about her situation with Juan. So she says that she's going to see Robin at Karen's event, and it's going to be weird because she doesn't believe the lies she's telling, I guess, regarding to the whole Juan situation. And she believes that Robin is covering for Juan. So we'll see what happens when Candace sees Robin because it's definitely going to be awkward. So we jump on over to a new scene, and it's the day of Karen and Ray's pickleball event. So the ladies, they arrive. I think they're at like a type of gym, and pickleball kind of looks like tennis, but something about you can't step outside of a certain box. I don't know, something like that. So anyway, the ladies arrive. Robin is basically like the last person to get there. But before Robin gets there, the ladies get there, and Candace and Wendy, they don't speak to Giselle or Mia. And of course, Giselle always has something to say about it, and she says something about it in her confessional. And it's like, Giselle, we don't care if you don't speak to Candace. Candace obviously doesn't want to speak to you. And y'all, just, because I'm going to get into this scene, just watching the tension, like I even felt it as a viewer watching it through the TV screen. It is just so apparent. Not only is this franchise so toxic, these women do not like each other. They can't, like it's a difference between, okay, not really liking the person, but you can kind of get along to, go along. But they really, it's like they can't even really be in the same room. You could feel the awkwardness, the tension between all of them. It's just, they're going to have to do a recast pretty soon because you cannot keep going on. It's not enjoyable to watch anymore. It's not fun to recap. It's not fun really to watch it because you being a viewer, I shouldn't be able to feel all that tension through the screen because it's so apparent you guys don't like each other. So it's just bad.
I said what I said. Okay.
So anyway, Karen divides the ladies into teams, and Wendy is placed with Mia, Nneka on a team, and Candace is placed with Giselle and Ashley on a team. So Karen goes into a speech mode, and she says that she wants everyone to talk, and the best way to do that is to play with each other. Maybe this can bridge the gap for everyone. So finally, Robin arrives, and she arrives with Juan, and all the ladies are shocked that he's there because if you guys have been watching from the beginning, Juan doesn't want to be bothered. I don't really think he even cares for this show, so he really doesn't show up to a lot of events. But this year, he's going to have to because this is one of their sources of income, if not like the major one. So they need to get this going, y'all. So anyway, they arrive, and Candace at this point, is just annoyed, and you could just see it on her face. And also too, her and Robin don't speak to each other either, and Candace is like, okay. So anyway, Robin joins, Mia's team. So, yeah. So anyway, the ladies began playing pickleball, and Candace's team, they're called the Ish Starters, and Wendy's team, they're called the Finishers. I'm trying to think. I think the Finishers won the game. So they're playing, and I think the finishers beat them, which was Wendy's team. So yeah, I think Wendy's team is the one that won, but I'm not too sure. I kind of have to go back. Y'all let me know in the comments. So anyway, after they finished playing the game, and also too, the husbands did show up with their wives there. So basically everybody was there, of course, except for, you know, Michael, of course, because Ashley's not with him. So anyway, afterwards, the ladies sit down to eat, and Kiana arrives. So you guys remember Kiana, that's Wendy's friend, and she met up with Candace and Wendy at a restaurant, and she owns a med spa next door to the restaurant they met up at. So yeah, she arrived. So I didn't know that Karen invited her, so that was cool. Oh, you know what? No, she did. When they went to Wendy's children's communion, the brunch part, yeah, she did. Okay, so never mind. So anyway, Karen stands up while they're all, you know, about to eat, and she makes a speech, and she says that she's very thankful that everyone came. But to be honest, the reason why she brought everybody here is because everyone is not in a good place. So she says, you know, it's amongst the women who are in a good place. The husbands are cool. And, you know, she's thankful that Robin showed up because she didn't have to show up. So she starts talking about Robin, and you can hear Robin in the background. She's like, why is she bringing up my name? Like, why you guys single me out? Just make your speech, jeez. So Karen continues saying that she and her, meaning Robin, they're not in a good place, and this was a place to get everyone together to have a good time. So, you know, the girls are talking at the table, and so Ashley reiterates to Wendy, you know, how she incorrectly brought that whole article to Wendy, and basically implying that NECA was saying that she was Osu, but she really wasn't. And so basically Ashley just apologized to Wendy again, saying that I didn't mean to imply that NECA was saying those things about you. So Candace asked, she's like, to Wendy and NECA, she's like, okay, are y'all good then? You know, since that whole thing is cleared up. So NECA responds saying, you know, well, I don't know her. And then Wendy says, you know, I don't have a problem with her. And so as Wendy is saying this, NECA interjects, and she said, you know, didn't I just say that? So you're repeating what I'm saying. So I'm just like, okay, girl, that was rude, number one. And first of all, Candace asked both of you if you guys were good. So Wendy's just replying. So what are you talking about? Anyway. And like I said, I was going to keep an open mind this season with people. And it's like, NECA, yeah, no, no. So, you know, after she says all that, then Wendy says, you know, I'm not repeating what you said. I just don't know you, and that's a fact. And so that's what I'm saying. So NECA says, I did hear that you had a problem with me. So Wendy replies saying, well, how do I have a problem with you when I don't know you? So NECA says, you know, well, I heard and I'm aware of the phone call that your sister made to my in-law, you know, about her being a part of the group. And I'm aware that your mom as well contacted my in-law, and she submitted my name to a shrine. So as soon as she says that, and see, I'm gonna have to say this before I continue. I don't like the fact that you brought this up. One, it was a very inappropriate time. If you had all this smoke for Wendy, I'm pretty sure you could get her number. You could have had a conversation off camera. Even if it was on camera, that should have been a conversation just between the two of you, not in front of the entire group and their husbands. So I know you did that on purpose to have a moment, especially in front of Giselle and Robin, especially in front of them. You know how they get down. Don't try to act like you don't know how they get down. You do.
Yesterday's price is not today's price. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Anyway, back to this recap. So everybody's just all shocked and looking around when Nneka says that. So Wendy says, my mom? Like, what are you talking about? And so Nneka repeats, what she said again about, Wendy's mom submitting her name to a shrine. So Wendy asks, well, who's your, cousin-in-law? Like, who's your in-law? And Nneka says, Labede, I believe that's her name. So Wendy says, I never called her. So Nneka says, no, your sister called my in-law and I think she says you were on the line. I'm not too sure, so don't hold me to it. I think she said that Wendy was on the line with her sister. Anyway, so Wendy says, Nneka, now you're switching it up because you said that I called her and I didn't call her. So Nneka replied saying, I didn't say that. I said your sister. And then Wendy says, no, you said that I called her. So Nneka says, I'm going to clear this up. And then Wendy says, well, clear it up. And then all of a sudden, Nneka starts cursing. She says, B, I am going to clear it up. And I'm just like, that was just totally uncalled for. You had no business calling her out of her name. Like, that was just totally rude. So, after she says that, Wendy tells her that, I've been nothing but nice to you, and now you call me a B. So Wendy says, I don't know you. And Nneka says, you know me enough to have your mother threaten me. So they keep arguing. They're going back and forth. Everybody's just watching this, and it's just so embarrassing and just so bad to watch. So Candace says, to Nneka, she's like, Nneka, it's not Wendy's responsibility for what her mother says. You shouldn't hold her responsible for that. And so Nneka says to her, like, okay, you're okay with this? And so Candace says, I'm not okay with anything, but you shouldn't hold her to a standard because her mom or her sister said something. And she's absolutely right. It's not like Wendy went around calling your cousin-in-law, saying all these things. It was her family member. And I did peep, because Wendy, she didn't deny it or anything like that. This just could have been handled totally different. So anyway, so Wendy says, let me be very clear. There was a conversation had with Nneka and Ashley about the article about me being Igbo and that whole Osu thing. So you saying this thing about my mom submitted your name to a shrine, that's actually false. And guess what? It's incriminating because that speaks to the Osu article, that situation brought up by Ashley. So Nneka says, keep trying to play detective because it's indicative of what your mom said. Then Wendy says, my mom, she worships our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And then Nneka says, by day she does, and at night she's submitting names to shrines.
What?
Name them.
Well, what you did was ridiculous.
Name 'em.
Not having.
Name 'em.
Well, be quiet. So,
Name
let me
'em.
talk, Jesus.
Name them.
So y'all, this is going completely left. I'm really disappointed in this. This is just becoming a nightmare. Then Robin gets in it and she's talking about, I feel like you two can work things out. And I'm just like, Robin, you need to stop. So Wendy says, what I want to do? I want to work it out with Mia. So then Wendy gets up and she goes over to Mia and she asks her, can we talk privately? So they get up to another place of the gym and they start talking. And so I can see it two ways. A part of it, I do feel like she was deflecting because she didn't want to talk about what happened with her mom calling. Although she never did deny and say that her mom, didn't call Nneka's cousin-in-law. But she's saying, like, my mom didn't submit no name to no shrine. She don't do that crap. And it also could be a second thing where she's just going to pay her dust and I'm not even about to give it to you on camera. I'm not even going to give you the satisfaction. So it could be one of those two reasons. That's why all of a sudden Wendy talking about you want to work it out with Mia. Anyway, so, Wendy and Mia, they're off to the side talking. So Wendy says to Mia that she threw a drink in her face and she wants to have a conversation to know that they can coexist when they're together and that they're good. So as they're talking, we jump on over to a scene where Candace and Nneka are talking. And so Candace says to her, I don't want the Nigerian girls fighting. You guys should be coming together. So Nneka tells Candace, well, Wendy's mom, she, was saying things about me doing all this stuff. So as they're talking, all of a sudden the food spills and like a little fire breaks out because they were on, gosh, I forgot what they're called. But basically, like when you have tin foil and food is in it and you have like that thing underneath it and, to make sure that the food is still warm. So yeah, that fell over and like a little fire ensued. So I think it was Wendy's husband that, got rid of the fire and got it out. And so, yeah, that's what happened. So all that chaos is going on with all this drama. And so as that's being put out, Candace says, the demons are coming out to get us. And I'm just like, Candace, like, please. And don't even be saying that for real. You can't be playing around like that. So anyway, so Nneka, she starts talking to Mia, telling her what happened, with the whole Wendy and mom situation. And just everything is a mess. And what I'm so mad about is like, Nneka, you're kind of being used by certain people of the group. And for you to be putting this out on blast in front of everybody just gives Giselle and Robin more ammunition against Wendy. And to me, it's like, Giselle and Robin, y'all have a lot of nerve being mad at Wendy because she didn't even do anything to you. You have this, like all this vitriol against her because she told you about herself when you were implying that she got her body done because her husband was cheating on her. Like she had every right to get you together about that. You're talking about her marriage, but then you have the nerve to catch an attitude because she told you about yourself. How dare you? And now you'll use anybody, anyone to go against her and y'all are just eating this up. And so I'm just irritated that this happened in front of them. Now, I'm always going to be fair and right is right and wrong is wrong. So it does seem as if Wendy was deflecting and avoiding that conversation from Nneka. And that's why she all of a sudden went over to Mia wanting to make peace. But it could have also been, was like, I'm not going to engage with you. I know how these producers are, how they want to start mess on the show, and I'm not about to go out like that. So I'm just not even going to respond to you. So it could have been that. So I don't really know, but it does come off, Wendy, that you're deflecting. And my thing is, you should have stood 10 toes down. And you should have been like, look, my mom ain't into that or whatever. Because honestly, we don't know if her mom said that. Wendy wasn't there. Nobody was there. So it's just hearsay at this point. But she didn't deny that her sister and mom called. But she been like, anything that ain't got nothing to do with me. She should have just really said that instead of kind of just walking away from her. That's just my take. So anyway, Mia goes over to Wendy's husband, Eddie, and she asks him, do you know Nneka's husband? And he says, no, I just met him. So then Mia says, Nneka just said that you unfollowed him on Facebook. So Eddie, walks away to go over to Juan because he's like, I ain't engaging in this nonsense. And so then Mia goes over to where Eddie is, he's with Juan and the other guys. And then she gonna say, Eddie, why did you unfollow him? And I'm just like, why are y'all doing this? Like, how old are y'all? And so then Nneka's husband turns around to Eddie and he's like, yeah, what's up with that? So Eddie says, when did I, even follow you on Facebook anyway? And throughout the episode, Nneka was showing screenshots of like Eddie no longer following her husband on Facebook, and y'all are getting mad because of an unfollow on Facebook. Oh, Lord help us. Oh, Lord, get me through this recap. So anyway, yeah. So Eddie says to him, when did I follow you on Facebook? So Nneka's husband says, let me address it. Let me address it. Were we ever friends? Were we never friends on Facebook? That's what he says to Eddie. So Eddie's just looking like, I don't know what's going on. Now, to be fair, Eddie, You kind of look suspect. You should have, see, this is what I'm talking about of just standing on it. Eddie, you should have been like, yeah, I did unfollow you. And you want to know the reason why I unfollowed you? Because your wife is saying these things about my wife, and we're a united front, and I'm not going to be friends with the husband of the wife who's talking stuff about my wife. No, I'm not doing it. So yeah, I did unfollow you. I don't know why that's bothering you. You should have stood 10 toes down on it. But the way you were coming off, trying to act like you don't know what's going on and all this stuff, it makes it seem like you were lying and that, you did unfollow him. You should have just been like, yeah, I unfollowed you. Yeah. So anyway, Eddie's just looking around and he can't even get a word out of his mouth because I think he's baffled and is confused and like, okay, what is going on? So then Eddie says, first of all, I just met you here today. And then Nneka's husband says, you don't know me? And then Eddie says, I just met you. Now I do believe that. I'm just saying, they don't formally know each other, and that probably was the first day that he actually met him in person. So that's probably why Eddie's like, I just met you today. Like, you can follow people on social media, but it doesn't mean you've actually met them in real life. So, yeah. And anyway, they went to the same college, and so I think they said they were in like the same type of like African type of club with college club or something. So yeah. So then Nneka and Wendy, they're still going back and forth, arguing with each other. Just when it kind of was settling down, Nneka was still talking, and then Wendy, of course, is going to reply back. But that whole scene was a mess. You could just see Giselle just sitting back, observing it, watching it, taking it all in, because she just wants something against Wendy. And then I think Ashley said to Robin, like, oh, Wendy's trying to avoid Nneka. And it's just a mess. And then Giselle gonna say, yeah, Eddie don't want that smoke. Because it did come off as though Nneka's husband was like getting really amped. Like he wanted to, I don't know what he was trying to do. But I'm like, it is not that serious over a Facebook unfollow. But yeah, y'all, that's where the episode ends. And scene. So I would give this episode, because just so much toxicity was in this episode and just the awkwardness of it all. What would I give it? Oh gosh, maybe I'll give it a 7.5. It wasn't all that. I don't really feel like it should be an 8, to be honest. I'm gonna give it a 7.5. Yeah, that's my rating for this show. But anyway, y'all tell me what you guys are thinking about the episodes so far. It's really starting to get, toxic again. It's not a fun show anymore. It's not a fun franchise. These women don't like each other. They seriously need to recast next season and get rid of some people because it's becoming too much. It's just not good. Like, we see other franchises, they have their little moments and stuff, but when you're watching Potomac, you can feel like the atmosphere. So anyway, guys, please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you're informed anytime that I upload a new video. Also, comment below, tell me your thoughts on this week's episode. What do you guys think about this whole Nneka and Wendy situation? Yeah, guys, it's gonna be a long season, but I'm gonna get it through, and I'm gonna give you guys these recaps, and we gonna keep trugging it along. And I'm just not gonna get myself emotional. I just can't do it. So anyway, but before I go, of course, I'd love to say a prayer over you, and so here it goes. So may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord turn his face towards you and give you peace and protection. This is my prayer over your life. In Jesus' name, amen. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in my next recap for the next episode. And yeah, bye.